It's what we're trying to do with Sarah Thrive, because in a way what we're doing is substituting a lot of the things that you're saying, or putting it in a format that people can kind of fit into their day. I mean, of course, everybody needs to be out at sunrise and sunset, but if it's not possible, using red light therapy devices is a substitute, the same as you would substitute a vitamin or a mineral deficiency.
Breaking the grey.
Welcome back to the Rebel Scientist podcast. I'm your host, Chantel, joined by my wonderful co-host, Sarah Turner, founder of Sarah Thrive, Rebel Scientist herself. And today we have a very special guest, Mark Dini, founder of Everyday Athlete, where he empowers individuals to take control of their health journey. So let's get started. Welcome.
Thank you for having me,
nice
ladies.
To have you.
I'm excited for this. This is going to be good.
It's going to be great.
Welcome, Mark. Yeah, it's so lovely to have you. I've actually seen you recently because we're kind of in the same place geographically. Yep. And we found out, of course, we've got a lot of things in common. But I think for people who don't know you, maybe you can just give a little bit about your background and how you got into the space.
All right. I'll try and keep it as succinct as possible. Otherwise, I will rabbit hole down many avenues here. So I started off as a personal trainer in 2011. I've been training since I was 13 years old. The guy that owned the gym where I used to live, he was not supposed to allow me to train there, but he didn't really care. So he was like, yeah, you can train. So I fell in love with training when I was 13, weight trained, and have been doing that pretty much my whole life. I then got into personal training in 2011. Before that, I was working for Apple and I was one of their lead specialists and then a sales, top of their sales. And then I went into their leadership and development. And I basically taught everybody at Apple how to basically be Apple. So I taught them the sales and Apple steps of service and all those types of things, training basically their regional directors, area managers, all that type of stuff. And I realized that as much as sales was great, I love educating people and coaching people. That was what I actually love to do. And I was like, well, I need to do something which is not stuck in a retail store all day long or teaching people in an office all day long. I was like, right, well, I love fitness and I love coaching. I was like, I'll do personal training. So I started that in 2011. And did that all the way up until 2020 when lockdown happened. And in between that time, I built a very, very successful personal training business. I was doing 75 hours a week. I was a CrossFit coach. I ran group classes. I had a waiting list for like 5 years with clients as well. So not it was a 5-year long waiting list, but I had a waiting list for 5 years. And in that time, I studied nutrition and did that with Precision Nutrition from the States. I studied psychology. Because I quickly realized that you can help people lose weight, but as Zig Ziglar says, you can't help them keep that weight off if they've got the weight on their mind. So you have to learn how they are psychologically. So I did that, then got into functional bodybuilding and got into rehab training, biomechanics, and all those other types of things. And then got into biohacking due to CrossFit because, every day I woke up, my knees hurt, my back hurt, my shoulders hurt. And I was like, right, well, this is not good. So I got into the dark side of the kind of the web, Reddit and all that stuff, going into like peptides and getting it from dodgy sites and all those types of things. Then got introduced to biohacking in 2016 and then started going down the blue light blocking glasses, the red light panels, which back then were very affordable. You could get quite a large panel for like £300, which was quite nice, but they had tremendous flicker and glare and all those other types of things. And then when lockdown happened, I had to make a pivot because obviously 95% of my clients were in person and they didn't want to shift to online. The psychology is very, very different. So I shifted. And in that time, I was like, well, I need to do more than what I'm doing online. This is very boring. I'm just writing programs. So I went into functional medicine and I studied functional medicine through, at the time it was known as the Carter Institute. It's now known as the Institute of Health. So I learned how to do functional blood labs, how to read the bloods from a functional medicine perspective. In that institute, they also talked to you about traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, herbalism, all those other types of things. And then just started building my business again from that kind of basis, basically, of anybody that came to me would get bloods done, would do a full protocol, would get supplements in, would do lifestyle changes, nutritional changes, all those types of things. Then I dived due to an autoimmune condition that my body came down with in 2023. I dived headfirst into peptides and I studied peptides under Dr. William Seeds from the SSRP and then started applying it with myself, started applying it with clients. And again, because of the fact that I healed the autoimmune condition, I attracted a lot of people that had IBD because that was the autoimmune condition, as well as other ones like Behçet's and Hashimoto's, Alzheimer's. And I started utilizing everything I'd learned from that, peptides and all of that in that kind of remit there. And then I stumbled across, actually, I was very aware of him before then. I think I said this to you, Sarah, when we met. I was very aware of Dr. Jack Kruse in 2016, but I thought he was a little bit of a kook back then. And obviously then found out about the quantum side of things and quantum biology, circadian biology. And it was just that light bulb moment where all these very disparate parts, which didn't seem to connect, even through functional medicine, it just seemed a very complicated system. They all just interdigitated with each other. And I was like, this all makes sense. This is that missing piece, which takes it from 70% healed to fully. And it aligns with everything that the body wants, but we just can't give it in a modern society because we're so out of sync with everything that is natural. And from that moment, I again changed my business model one more time. I was like, right, now it's about applying the quantum, utilizing everything else as a ancillary, add it in when it's needed. But if you're going to get, as one of my business mentors used to say to me, like, do the common things uncommonly well. Like, that's what I now want to teach people. Do the basic things every single day and get really, really good at them. Because once you've got that stable formation of all of that, everything else you add in now just elevates it even more, and it makes it hold and stick. Because I noted through some of my clients that I would use a peptide formulation with one client and it would work. I'd use it with another client in exactly the same situation and it wouldn't work. And I'd be like, why is this? And then as I started delving into it, it's because they had poor circadian rhythms, they had poor light environment, they were maybe living next door to, I don't know, like a cell phone tower or something like that, which is obviously changing the way the cells worked. So in a nutshell, that's my morphic journey, which was a very, very long journey, but into a very, very short period of time. And that's brought me to this point now where I now class myself more as an educator than a coach. I don't mind coaching. I like coaching people, but I much prefer educating because I don't want to keep clients. I don't want them to be with me for the rest of their lives. I want to give them all the information that I've painstakingly learned through time and money and just give them that knowledge so they can then pay it forward. Maybe they can help their family. Maybe they can help their friends, and they don't need me. That's the whole point. It's about making them the sovereign of their own health, the CEO of their own health, so they don't need to be able to have to be siloed into a medical industry which doesn't really want to cure them because there's no profit in cure. They want to keep people in this sick system. So I want to be able to give people this education, this knowledge, so they can then pay it forward. And before we know it, we're all sovereign human beings with this amazing knowledge about light and water and magnetism and living with nature and all these other things. And everything else on top of that, as I say, is just that icing on the cake, those sprinkles, so to speak.
That's amazing. It's so diverse. I feel like I actually was just very recently listening to a podcast on, I don't know if you know the guy from Modern Wisdom.
Yes, I
he
do.
was
Chris
interviewing,
Williamson.
I think, yes, and he was interviewing a neuroscientist talking about how stages of when you, because he's career switched so many times, and just what you were saying made me think of when he speaks about getting a little bit older, where that wisdom comes and how your brain also changes to have that, to be able to be an educator. And just to kind of lead from that, if you could give a little bit more detail on, you speak about, like those basics and getting them right and the cause, because obviously that's what I feel like most people struggle with or would want to know, whether someone has like in-depth knowledge on the topic of, say, biohacking or all these things. What do you think are you seeing with your clients are still the things that even if someone has that slight awareness of health, that they're just, that people tend to still kind of get wrong at focusing on that first? You spoke about circadian rhythms and those kind of things.
We live in a convenience culture due to things like Netflix and Amazon and stuff, where you can literally watch what you want when you want it. You can buy what you want and it's delivered the same day or next day. Everybody just wants to have that one thing that they can take, and it enables them to still have their cognitive bias of how they want to live their life based off their belief systems, but still make all those mistakes, still go out and drink, still take drugs, still eat crappy food, still not have a good sleep schedule, still do all these things. But that one pill, that limitless pill, is going to make everything better.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the unlearning that has to happen. And unfortunately, if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, you've got a very indoctrinated system due to how the world is run. It's a very animalistic kind of approach where it's like Pavlov's dog, right? It's that reward system of a case of like, there is an authority, I am that authority, so therefore then you don't have the critical thinking anymore to make the decision for yourself. You have to ask this authority and they say no, so you can't do that thing. So we have this very animal like approach to these things where it's kind of like, here's that one thing, it's going to cure everything. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. So from the basics, I have to unstitch all of that behavior, that learned behavior from society, not from them. It's the world's dream. It's how everything's made in the Western world. You have to unstitch all of that slowly over the first 4 to 6 weeks and implement these other seemingly simple, could it really make a difference, albeit could be perceived as pointless things. Well, how can sitting in the sun at sunrise make such a huge difference? Well, if we went into the really deep weeds of it all, I could explain everything to you, but 95% is just going to go whoosh because you're not going to be aware of the systems that I'm talking about. So all I'm going to say to you is this. Sunrise is important because it's a Zeitgeber, timekeeper. We have one major clock in the body, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. As light enters through the eyes as a vibration, it vibrates the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which then oscillates that down to every other clock gene in the body. And there are so many, as you know, Sarah, like they're everywhere, in every organ, in every part of the body. And this is what tells all of those things what to do and when. Well, if you don't get that very critical signal, everything's off. And we could use something very, very simple as, when should melatonin stop being produced? When should cortisol naturally spike? And when should hormones start? When should energy production start in the Krebs cycle? This is all done from sunrise. And you don't have to be out there for an hour and, you know, naked, standing in the middle of your garden or a park down the road and everybody giving you weird looks. 5 to 10 minutes. That's all it takes. You don't need any more than that. People think it needs to be this massive, massive action, and it doesn't. We are convinced that we need to take massive action to make these massive dramatic changes, where when we think about like an aeroplane, all it's got to do is be like 0.5 degrees off, and over a given length of time, it's nowhere near where it's supposed to be landing. It's now 20 miles off, because over that time period, that slight change of degree has taken it completely off track. So all you need is a very small thing, sunrise. If that's the only thing you're going to do, sunrise, see the sun. And if you can't see the sun because there's a mountain in the way or there's a building in the way, just be outside, because light bends around things. You don't need to be right in front of the sun facing east. You can just be outside or pop your head out the window for 5 minutes. That's all you need. If you can then do that with your bare feet on the grass or touching a tree or a bush that's in the ground, great, because now you're going to ground as well. So you're now getting the magnetic signal from the earth telling your brain where you are on the planet, what latitude, longitude, and all the rest of it, which is important. But also you're getting that light signal that matches where you are, which is the most important thing, because you don't want a light signal that's coming from, I don't know, the equivalent of someone like Brazil, and you're in Watford in the United Kingdom. It doesn't match. So just that one simple thing, do that consistently. Like once a day for 5 minutes is better than once a week for 20. Just do it consistently for 5-10 minutes every single day. And all of a sudden you notice that you're a little bit more energized. You feel a little bit happier because you've had a moment of peace before you've picked up your phone and the world starts telling you how to live your day. That's the biggest piece of it all as well. It's not just the physiological things that happen. It's the psychological things that happen as well. Everybody wakes up and now grabs their phone. Well, all of a sudden you're now in a reactive mode because you're responding to everything that everybody else wants you to do. The news, the weather, text messages, emails, you name it, it's now bombarding you. And as I posted yesterday, you've got the brain of somebody that's supposed to eat berries in a cave. You can't handle this amount of this distraction that's happening all the time. There's too much information. So having that 5 or 10 minutes where it's just you, no phone, a bit of light, a bit of peace, a bit of stillness, it just makes your nervous system just chill for a moment. Then you can crack on and do what you want to do. But if you just get that one simple thing, your whole day will change. And then consistently over 3, 4, 5 days, you're going to notice you're going to get tired in the evening because you're getting the appropriate signal in the morning. You're going to feel more energized through your day. You're going to get more done. You're going to need less coffee, less stimulants of any kind. And you'll also notice your hunger signals will change. You'll be really hungry first thing in the morning and you won't be quite so hungry at night. And this all just then starts making sense when it comes from like eating like a king, eating like a prince, eating like a pauper. It just all makes sense from that point. And it doesn't have to be rigid. It's not like this is the set law. But it just makes sense. And it's simple. You haven't got to pay for it. Nobody can stop you. The choice is yours. Do it or don't. But it's a very, very simple thing just to add into your day. Just wake up, go and see the sun, go back in again. Nice and simple.
So this is something that I want to pass by you though, Mark, because I'm also, I mean, obviously you're singing the same tune as us, you know, we're totally into what you're saying, but I also find that people have got a lot of conditioning that they're bringing to the
Of
table.
course.
And people are kind of very, very used to that model of, okay, I've got a disease, I need to go to an authority figure and have it cured, if you like. You know, it's very difficult to get over that. So my new messaging or something that I'm trying out is I've made up an illness.
Oh,
It's called reduced infrared spectrum exposure disorder.
RISE. I like that.
RISE, because I'm giving people what they want. They want me to name an illness, right? So you've got RISE. You've got RISE. But really what I'm saying is you haven't seen the sunrise for a long time. It's really exactly what you're just saying, but it's kind of delivering it in a way that people kind of are used to understanding it. Because really what we're saying with, you know, you say you need to see the sunrise, you need to have the spectrum to do all these different things. If you don't do that, then you're going to get sick. And sickness tends to manifest, you know, we all know the symptoms, you know, you're sick, you're tired, brain fog, gut issues, the whole thing. So what do you think about my idea of kind of giving it a name that people then can kind of hang, you know, they've got something to hang, like, oh yeah, I've heard of IBD, I've heard of SAD, oh, RISE, I've got that. What's the treatment? Okay, very simple. You see the sunlight or you get a red light therapy device, you know, because I think we are very, very deficient in these long wave red wavelengths of light.
I agree.
Exactly for the reason that you're saying. And as much as we can, we need to get people outside at sunrise and sunset.
Well, that was going to be my question too. Was going to be about sunset. Because
I saw a brilliant sunset the other day. I was walking back here.
It was stunning. Was that the picture you sent me?
I know. I thought, I know who'll appreciate this the most.
It's stunning. It was a stunning picture. It
was stunning. And also, I think that's another thing. It's stunning because our biology wants us to appreciate the sunrise and sunset. It makes it beautiful for us so that we're more likely to be out there in it, which is really what our biology needs.
Well, we become addicted to it, don't we? It releases the beta endorphins, so we naturally become addicted to the sun. That's why we love it so much. That's why in England, the second it's sunny, everybody wants to stop everything, not go to work, and just lay out in the sun all day long, because we become so deficient in it, you know. But I think to answer the two questions there, giving something an acronym which people can label, which is very easy to remember because we will remember that quite happily. It makes sense because we like having labels. It allows our brain to close the loop on that, and it then becomes something that we can remember to do. I was like, okay, rise, sunrise makes sense.
Yeah.
It just makes it simplistic enough for it to be doable. And I think that's the thing. I think it was Einstein says that we overcomplicate things and we just have to make it simple, but no simpler. We have this tendency to think that everything needs to be complicated because it needs to be hard. And it doesn't. It just needs to be simple. How can something free work? Because it does. Nature doesn't make mistakes. It's been there this whole time, right? We've just moved indoors. We're an outside mammal living an indoor existence. We're basically in a zoo. So it just makes sense to have something which is nicely labeled. It allows people to, it's very Ronseal, as we would say. It says exactly what it is on the tin, right? Very easy to understand. Okay, I have this thing where I don't have enough red light spectrum going on onto my skin and in my eyes. Quick fix, outside. Nice and easy. And you can, at that same time, you can make it, if you've got like a family with kids, you can make it a whole thing. You can all get up at the same time and all go outside and do it at the same time if you want to. You can make it not so it's not just yourself. When it comes to the sunset, also, again, very important, because, again, you are bookending both parts of your day. You're saying to your brain and your body, this is when the day starts. This is when the day ends. This one's really important because the fact that when the sun goes down, and as Sarah knows, that the red light frequencies at sunset are different to what they are in the morning. We might not necessarily perceive it, but our brains do. Our non-visual photoreceptors, they all know the difference in the spectrum. They're picking up the different frequencies of light. Much, much more orange, much, much more calmer. And it's sending signals to the brain of just it's down regulation time. We don't need to be cortisol driven anymore. Cortisol's already dropping off. Now melatonin can start being made. We now need to be in darkness. it's giving the brain that signal of it's time to start getting ready for bed, which means that digestion stops and all these other types of things, because then it's not preferential at that time of day to be doing those things anymore. So everything then starts going into sleep mode, into rest mode, into repair, because morning is very anabolically, catabolically driven, like get up, do things, go do. Evening is restorative, restful, repair. It's giving those signals, and melatonin is such an important, and people think this is just about sleep, and it's not. It's a hormone. It's very important because it's there for anti-inflammatory, apoptosis, all these amazing things that it needs to do, which only happen when it gets that signal to be released. And darkness is what gives it that signal. So if you want to add one more thing onto that simple thing of getting to see the sun in the morning, see the sun at sunset as well. And even if you can't see it and it's grey, as the UK is 90% of the time,
I was going to ask.
our receptors can still perceive that change of frequency and light. And also not just the actual frequency, but the lux as well, the brightness.
Yeah.
Very, very, very different. Morning brightness is very different to evening brightness. They're different types. One's very bright and one's very dull. That again is sending those right signals. And adding those two bits in would be a very simple thing to add in. And again, if you're on your way back from, I don't know, let's say it's like winter and you're on your way back from London, you've been working, well, sun will be setting at some point. You might be leaving as it's setting. Well, as you've walked out your office, there it is. Just pop your glasses off if you're wearing like reading glasses or you need glasses to see. Allow the light in. All of a sudden, you're getting that correct signal. Job done. You haven't got to do any more than that. It's no big task. It's a very, very simplistic thing to kind of add in. But something else, which I wanted to say about that sunset picture, which, as Rumi says, when we sit in stillness, silence speaks. And this is because we don't have moments of nothing. People don't like sitting in their own stillness. It makes them uncomfortable. But it's very important that we have those moments of stillness because it becomes timeless. Every part of our day is driven by time. A man-made thing that we have to live our life by, 9 to 5, whatever the case may be. When you see a sunset or when you experience anything that's beautiful, like a sunset, you get this timeless gap where time around you ceases to exist. It is just you and that one thing. You could not be more in the now. You can't be in the moment because moments transpire every millisecond, they change. But you are in that now present state, which is what every meditation thing's trying to get you to do. It's what breathwork's trying to get you to do. It's what anybody that's trying to help you with mindset's trying to get you to do, is to be mindful in one moment or one now. And when you see something beautiful, like a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful sunset, everything else just disintegrates and it's just you and that one thing. That's a very, very beautiful gift that you can give yourself. And granted, you're not going to get to see it all the time, but when you do, you will just appreciate it even more, which is why I loved that picture, because I was like, oh, that's stunning. Absolutely stunning. I can imagine you just probably stood there and just breathed it in.
I did, yes, I did. It was in the churchyard, just in this little village, yeah, and I stood there for a good quarter of an hour and just watched the whole thing go down, yeah.
And that quarter of an hour will feel like a minute.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, because when we're seeing something that we love, time speeds up.
Right.
Just to add to what you guys are saying, it's maybe a little bit less of the science side, but I'm just curious to know what you both think regarding like our biology and how it feels, because I always think about sunrise and sunset before I even started thinking about it in terms of near infrared light and those, is why we perceive it to be beautiful is also because it's the 2 points in the day where I always thought, oh, things are in balance, and there's something to do with but there's it's still like what you're saying. If you're extremely present, it feels timeless, but it's always going to change and it comes and goes. And my question is sort of reverting to the human body. How do you facilitate people within that concept of balance?
So I used to give talks to corporates, and one of the talks that I used to get asked to do the most was one called Finding the Middle Path, Why Balance is the Way. So that's a beautiful question. I can answer that quite nicely for you. So there's a great book called The Tao, which is all about Taoism. Wayne Dyer wrote a very, very, very good version, or his interpretation of that, which I highly recommend everybody to read. It's like this thin. The original Tao is really thick. But in it, it's talking about basically balance and how everything, when it's in balance, seamlessly works. In modern society, we are driven to extremes. We are either at the gym first thing in the morning, doing every HIIT class, spin, CrossFit, running, whatever the case may be, or we are sedentary and we're not doing it at all. We are either fully masculine and toxic masculinity, or we are feminine and in that toxic feminine. We're never in that balance point. And so in Taoism, they talk about this Zen triangle. And if you can imagine the human body is in the center and you've got a foot either side of that triangle point, you are now balanced. You are not in an extreme. You are adjusting the seesaw to that day based on whatever's needed. That is the yin and yang. That is the masculine and feminine. That is the process of getting and the process of receiving. You can't have one without the other. You can't constantly be giving of yourself, because otherwise you lead to what is known as burnout, because you are giving too much of your precious resource, which is your vital life energy, your chi, your prana, whatever you want to call it, your ki. It is constantly being given. Those moments of stillness where you sit and you have those sunsets and sunrises, or a moment where you get to sit and meditate, or whatever the case may be, that is when you are now in that receiving mode. And you're not just receiving this prana, this life force. It's not just recharging like an iPhone is when you plug it in. You're also receiving information from source. The questions that you ask that you apparently never receive answers to, well, that's because you're too busy to hear them. You have to stop to receive. If you're sprinting down the street and I've got a gift for you, how am I going to give it to you? I could throw it at you, but you're probably going to miss it. So if you just stopped, I'd be able to go, here's a gift. And you'll go, oh, thank you very much. That's lovely of you. That's what we need to do for ourselves. We have to give ourselves those moments to have this balance point, because we can't be constantly in either side. We have to come back to center, that 0 point, because 0 is the nothing and everything, right? So you have everything and nothing at that 0 point. Anytime you deviate from either side of that, you are now in, again, the giving or the receiving. You're either passive or you're aggressive, whichever way you want to look at it. So I try to say to clients, and again, I don't tell people what to do. I just recommend from my experience what I have found, that you have to gift yourself. It is a gift. You have to gift yourself these moments where you have stillness, where you can be in that timeless now, where you've got a moment to allow whatever's happened in your day just to disappear, and you can just breathe in that moment, just have a moment of stillness. No phone, no nothing like that. It's like what Michael Singer talks about it in his book. Was it The Untethered Soul? I forget. I know he's got 2 books, Living Life Untethered and Untethered Soul. There's so much going on that we have to filter out most of it, but it still goes in. The brain's filtering out most of it, but it's still there. And that's why at the end of the day, your brain feels compressed. It needs that expansion. You need to give yourself the opportunity for your brain to expand so that you can take in more than what you think is going on in your world. Because from a 30,000 foot view, your problems, when you give yourself that moment, will shrink in size. Because it's in the mix of it, it feels very important and very, very kind of prominent and stressful and hectic and da da da. But the second you take that 30,000 foot view, that expansive moment, like at a sunset or a sunrise, where you've just got that moment, that problem that you've got now doesn't seem quite so big, because you realize in the grand scheme of everything, it's very small. There's so many other things going on in the world, in the planet, like in the universe. So many more things. Like right this moment, Saturn's got rings, but we don't think about that because we don't give ourselves the opportunity to think about that. But when you do think about it, you think, oh my God, there's a planet out there that's got rings. How cool is that? And all of a sudden, your problem, which you're thinking about, which might be, oh, I stubbed my toe and my toe's throbbing and it really hurts, or that guy cut me up in traffic, or whatever the case, or I don't know, I dropped my favorite coffee mug. All of a sudden, it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. Because you've gifted yourself that moment of balance.
It's very true. It's about finding a bit of peace. It's what we're trying to do with Sarah Thrive, because in a way what we're doing is substituting a lot of the things that you're saying, or putting it in a format that people can kind of fit into their day. Because of course everybody needs to be out at sunrise and sunset, but if it's not possible, using red light therapy devices is a substitute, the same as you would substitute a vitamin or a mineral deficiency.
Agreed. Yep.
But then also things like having a 10-minute session, and we have in our app that we use breath work.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another way that you can connect people to that source. Because
definitely.
getting people to where you're at, Mark, is brilliant, and the more we can get there. But I feel like sometimes we need a few crutches to get there.
Of
Like,
course.
it's a staggered thing. Yeah, we should be outside as much as we can, but even someone who's outside sunrise and sunset, we're still a little bit light deficient because of our indoor lives.
Of course.
And connecting people via the breath, for people who, it's kind of like a stepping stone to kind of that meditation where you can just be in the nothing. At least connecting to your breath gives you an anchor. So that's kind of why we've tried to find. And actually, Chantel's a musician, and she's also done us some fabulous ambient music, because music can connect you to that too.
Definitely.
And you speak about the nervous system.
Yeah, because everything's vibration. Everything is frequency and vibration, and you can use music. I personally love sound bowls. I think sound bowls are incredible, and I use them a lot because obviously different frequencies vibrate at the same frequency of different parts of the body.
Yes.
And so using something like the sounds that you've got in your app, which are then obviously going to be going in, I guess, are they going in like binaurally? Are they doing it that way?
We do use noise cancelling headphones, and we have some of the music that we've deliberately set the frequency to match the pulse-like frequency in the headband. So if you're 40 hertz, I'm sure you know that 40 hertz has is a very healing frequency. And actually, probably because, if you're taking a walk, like down here, I'm looking outside, I'm in a typical English countryside, as you're kind of walking through the trees and you get the dapple effect of light coming through the trees, you're probably getting like a 40 hertz signal. It's just we're not walking in the trees all the time.
No.
So it's another thing that we're missing, that kind of. And we also, when we do it with our device, we deliver it randomly. We're not doing like 40 as a metronome. We're doing a random pulsing. So that's incredible. I think trying to deliver things as much as possible in, I call it biophilic, a way that nature would do. But we are in a society where at the moment, we do need to find ways to mimic that, because we just are, for a lot of us, we're not in a situation where we can kind of just drop everything and go and live outside.
No, exactly. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. Yeah. We have to take what has been, because you've got to think, like, the reason why these ancient culture techniques like yoga or pranayama or qigong or tai chi, meditation, whatever the case should be, the reason why it's still here thousands and thousands of years later is because it works. But we are not Zen monks living in the mountain. No. We haven't got all day to do these things. As much as that would be lovely, we have to take ancestral learnings and apply them in a modern society. And utilizing something like your device to do that for people that don't have that time frame is perfect. One thing I don't want to kind of put out there is the fact that I live like I'm Zen all day long. It's not like that. There are moments when I am, and there's moments when I'm not, because I know, again, there's moments when I need to go out and pursue, and there's moments when I need to stop and reflect. And it just so happens that I've been able to build that into my life over time. It's taken, I'm 44. It's taken a long time to get to this point where I have this balance point, because I've gone through the dark night of the soul stuff. I've done all those things where stuff's really fallen apart, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the end of everything. And then those high points again, we're like, this is everything, and it's everything I've ever wanted. And then you realize it's not. And then something else changes, or you have to move, or I don't know, like maybe one of your businesses fails or something. There's so many things that can happen like this. But the reason why we use devices like yours, the reason why we do the sunlight and all those other types of things, is because they're within our control. They give us this anti-fragility. Because what we don't want is to be fragile, where, the wind comes in all of a sudden and we're blown over and we can't get up. We need to have that almost like that bamboo, where it will bend and flex with whatever comes in. And a device like yours is allowing people to train that or entrain that, where all of a sudden they've got a little bit more resiliency. They've got a little bit more adaptability, or the ability to adapt. That's the most important thing with all of this stuff, is it's giving you tools like a Batman utility belt.
Yes.
What tool do you need today? Right? What part of the app do I need to use today? Oh, I'm feeling a little bit like brain foggy. Okay, I'm going to put one on which picks up some alpha waves or something.
Yeah.
Or I'm feeling a little bit wired and tired. I need something that's just going to calm me down. Or I can use the 40 hertz one, which is going to bring in a little bit regenerate. It's having those choices to be able to utilize them, because you're quite right. We don't all, as much as Jack will say, just everybody should move to El Salvador and, just live very close equator. It's not practical, and we have to be practical. And with clients, I have a basic level of things that I'll say to them from a basic level, but then I will tailor everything else to them. You know, like if I've got a client who's a high net worth entrepreneur who's running 4 companies and he lives in Singapore, I'm not going to give them the same advice to a single mum who's looking after 2 kids who lives 30 minutes down the road. Like, it's just not going to be the same thing. So we have to have these abilities to adapt. And a device like yours is perfect because you can give either one of those types of clients that device and they will use it completely differently to each other based on their situation. And that's what needs to happen.
Just thinking as you're talking about, you know, like the baseline of things, and we've brushed on like the philosophy side, and I know you also come from the physical aspect of like with like being the everyday athlete, but I was also wondering if you could suggest questions for people, like even if it's 1 or 3 questions that no matter at what stage or where someone is, it's an individual just kind of starting on their health journey, to ask themselves, whether that's coming from a mental or an emotional or, you know, like a philosophical place, to help them start unlocking where they need to start their journey.
I actually had this with a client yesterday. He's got IBD. Well, his body's got showing symptoms of IBD. He's had some news which he needs to deal with, and he's not sure how he should cope with it. What he should do, he wants to live a certain way, but he has to live this way because of what he needs to do to currently heal himself. So Paul Chek has an incredible question that he says in these instances, and you could pretty much use it in any situation. When you find yourself unsure what to do, ask yourself, what would love do? Now, it sounds on the surface very woo, and it is, but we are beings of woo-ness. We are light beings. So the highest vibrational frequency that we can gift ourselves is love. That's one of the first things that we're born with, is love and fear. So we have to think, right, so what, in this instance, if I truly loved myself, would I stay up again for the 20th night in a row, work until 4 o'clock in the morning, or would I go to bed, sleep, have a really good night's sleep, wake up and start the day and feel better for it? What would love do in that instance? What would you recommend to yourself? And that's leading into the next question. We never speak to ourselves in a third person. So sometimes I will say, what will Mark do? What would Mark say? Because if I ask myself, I am solely going to be seeking an emotional validation. What's going to make me feel good in the moment? That's emotional validation. So same if you've got a problem, you speak to your friend loves you, only wants the best for you. And so your friend will give you emotional validation. Yes, you're right to feel this way. Yes, you're right to have said that. Yes, he was an arsehole, whatever the case may be. But you'll walk away from that conversation feeling good. And then an hour later, you'll be like, well, I still don't know what to do, because you haven't had a cognitive solution. So when you speak to yourself as if you were going to be telling your friend what to do or advising your friend what to do, if you do that for yourself and you become your own coach, what would Mark do? What would Chantel do? What would Sarah do? You will get that cognitive solution because you know what to do. And this is what I was saying right at the beginning about this animal programming of, I can't possibly know what to do. I have to ask an authority. You are the authority in your life. Ask yourself. You know what to do. Deep down, you know. And if you just sat and allowed yourself to have that moment of, what would Mark do? Mark would do this. Oh, great, cool. That's what I'm going to do then. What would love do? Oh, I'll do that. Okay, well, I'm going to do that then. Very simple ways to realign with your best interests rather than what you maybe hedonically would like to do or what would feel good in the moment, to, okay, maybe the pain now will equal pleasure later, like hard life now, good life later kind of situation, rather than good life now, hard life later. We always will want to choose the easy thing. Nothing good ever comes from easy. It's about putting in that work, because otherwise we can't complain about the results we don't get from the work we don't do. So I think, what would love do? And coach yourself in a third person. Ask yourself, what would I say to somebody else? That will give you 9% of the answers to what you need.
Yeah, that's great. I must admit, I have started doing that a little bit, but I do end up arguing with myself a lot.
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I've had the most ridiculous conversations with myself because I kind of like, there's always, I want to go out and have a margarita with my sister, but really good for my health. but kind of, I think at least when I make a decision, it's a considered choice, because I think for a lot, even if I'm making the choice, which, not necessarily long term is a good one, but at least I've kind of brought it into my own awareness, and I'm happy with, even if I'm doing something which is kind of a little bit outside what that kind of the really healthy part of me wants to do. Because I do think, and especially in the biohacking, sometimes people do get locked a little bit into going over the
like
top.
obsessiveness. It's like
Well,
obsession.
I don't know how many people have started sending me their sleep scores. People I don't know, by the way. I'm on this like
Really?
random Facebook group. I'm 100 sleep score, and I think, yeah, but God, have you gone out and had a laugh recently? We do have to be moderate, which is your Tao, your middle way. But I like the idea of talking to yourself, because it does open up at least awareness of your choices, because so much can be unconscious decisions. You're just kind of half asleep making a choice because you're rushing, or you're just not really paying attention to what you're doing. So I do like that idea.
I agree.
Yeah.
It reminds me also that I don't know if you've heard the story of the two wolves. So
Yeah,
again,
the wolf you feed becomes
yes,
strong. Yeah, I love that
exactly.
one
So
too.
the two wolves that live inside you, one could be pain, one could be pleasure, one could be love, one could be fear, and they're constantly fighting. And the grandson asked his granddad, "Who wins?" And he said, "Well, the one that you feed is that." Right.
I
So
always think about that, actually, because I did it in the coaching course, and I've never forgotten it, because
it's such a great story, because it's true.
Yeah.
Right. It's so true. Like, the one that you feed is the one that's gonna thrive. So if you keep feeding yourself fear, or if you keep saying, "Oh, I can't do this because I've got to be in bed by 9, and then I've got to be up at 6, and I've got to have this biohacking routine which takes me 3 hours in the morning," that's no life. And I think another part that needs to be added into, I wouldn't even call it a biohack, it's just socialize.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but since lockdown, socializing's changed. People don't do it as much.
No.
And it's one of the key things that we lack the most, is we are community-driven social creatures. We need other people around us.
Yes.
So when you're feeling a little bit down, you're not really quite sure, go out. You don't have to go out and drink. You don't have to go and do any of those things. You can if you want to, but you don't have to get like blind drunk or whatever. Like, don't numb the pain. Go out and just be around people. Listen to them. Listen to their stories. Tell your story. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And I think that's something that's massively missing as well. And I don't think there's ever going to be a biohacking device that can ever kind of do that. But one of the things that I love about the biohacking space, and even the quantum space as well, is that we have communities.
Yes.
We've got events that we go to, and we all come together, and we're all like-minded. So we're all on the same page. So we can all talk to each other about different things, but all the same thing at the same time, and we all connect. Yeah. Which nowadays people don't spend as much time doing. It's literally work, home, work, home, work, home, work, home, weekend, get drunk, take drugs, whatever, forget everything, and then do the same thing again. Broaden that. Go and do new things, whatever the case may be. Meet new people. Go and do a dance class. Go, I don't know, bingo, extreme knitting, whatever it is that you want to do. But just expand that and just be more social.
Yeah,
and I think that's a massive piece that's missing as well.
Yeah.
Again, just like referencing people you see, because obviously you've seen such individual lifestyles, but how people, I'm using the word like addiction, obsession, because everybody has a tendency towards, like some kind of vice, but whether it's healthy or not. How do you work with people in trying to, again, just because I'm coming from a thought process of like thinking about limiting beliefs and that the way that plays out with people, with clients, do you notice very quickly when it's something that they're willing to want to change? Because people can come to you, and I'm thinking, Sarah, the podcast earlier, we were speaking about people, like really getting to the root cause of where something's coming from or the issue that they're dealing with. Do you have a process by which you sort of figure that out with somebody to notice whether they're going to want to change, or whether it's going to be quite a longer journey of actually changing the way that they think about it and approach their healing?
Definitely. So the first initial call that I have with a client is a discovery call. It's basically me, I'm not psychoanalyzing them, but I've got questions that I ask which help me understand where they're coming from. And then I've got a questionnaire that I ask them to fill out, which gives me an idea. It's sub-objective data. So like blood work, any other lab, like a gut test or anything like that, that's objective data. I want to know how they relate to themselves and how much interoception, awareness of self they have. They will fill this questionnaire out, and based upon those answers, I will know how much awareness they've got of themselves. Because if they tell me they feel X, Y, and Z, but yet on their bloods, they've got absolutely no pathology, which tells me that they've got any of that going on. Well, they're either massively disconnected or it's psychologically driven. And what you normally find is, unless it is something quite serious, like a disease, a lot of the things they are feeling, like if somebody's got like heart palpitations, as an example, that's going to be psychologically driven. There's going to be a lot of stress in the body, or there's going to be a lot of like the feeling of being unsafe, not supported, no structure, no stability. And when people have no stability, they instantly come out of a place of fear, or come out of a place of lack. And then I'm going to start asking them questions. Like, again, this client I was speaking to yesterday, when he got the news that he got angry. And so I said to him, okay, now this is the question you want to ask yourself. Why was anger the response? Because you could have had any response, any. Mm-hmm. But your body chose to express it as anger. I need you to sit and think about that. I'm not going to tell you why that is, what I think it is, because it doesn't matter what I think it is. What's important is that you know why you chose anger. Because when my body came down with an autoimmune condition and the diagnosis came in for me, I had sadness and frustration, not anger. And that's just down to the fact that I felt, and I didn't realize this for 2 years, I felt my body had let me down. When I look back across my life, that's happened many times with people, not my body, but with people. I've also had many injuries where I've had to have many surgeries. Again, body letting me down. This then tells me that I have this fear of lack, this fear of no support, no structure, no stability, nobody to rely on. Well, then that's what I need to work on. That's the part of me, the abandonment, whatever the case may be. Like, these are the areas I need to focus in on. These are the things that I ask clients to do, because as much as I can talk them through it, and I can give them techniques, I can give them mindset work to do, journaling work to do, intentional work to do, I can give them affirmational work to do, I can sit and actually talk through them in, like, I don't know if you've heard of internal family systems. It's an incredible psychological process to go through. I'll take them through that, or maybe some somatic therapy, something like that, so they can feel it and find where it's coming from in the body, because that again is relating to an organ or something. And once we start doing these types of things, we can start unpacking it, because as the book says, the body holds the score, right? The body knows what's going on. It also knows how to heal. And these symptomologies aren't because there's something wrong with the body. An autoimmune isn't something that's wrong with the body. It's the fact that the body is using those symptoms as a way of expressing that it needs help. We just ignore it and we just expect to take a medication for it and it will go away. Well, there's an energetic mismatch. There's some kind of, I guess in ancient Sanskrit, they'd call it a sanskara. There's some kind of emotion locked somewhere, and we need to release that. But to answer your question, how people respond to doing that is completely personal. Some people will dive straight in, get it done. They want to move on. They are ready to make that change, because the pain of staying the same is far greater than the pain of the change. But then there are some people who aren't at that point yet. They're not at that point where they're basically comfortable being uncomfortable. They've got used to it so much that they don't necessarily have that fire beneath them yet to make that change, and they want you to do it for them. Well, that's a much slower process, but you then just drip feed it. You drip feed it in and say, right, we're just going to journal, as an example. You're going to have a journal for yourself. Nobody else is going to read it. You can write what you want. You can say what you want. You can misspell, not put commas. You can write in big capital letters. You can swear. You can do what you want. But we're going to take it from here and we're going to put it down here, because cathartically, that's going to release whatever it is in your head onto the paper. And once it's on the paper, you can either keep it or burn it, whatever you want to do. But it gets it out and it moves it through the body, because anything that is emotionally driven, as Tony Robbins says, emotion is energy in motion, hence why it's called emotion. It needs to move, but we lock it in and we push it to the back and it becomes a shadow. As like Jung would say, this is our shadow self. Mm-hmm. And we need to bring it forward so that we can learn the lesson it's trying to teach us, either release it or integrate it, either or. It's like when you see people go on like 50 ayahuasca journeys, you're missing the point, right? You probably only need one, maybe two at best, and you need to integrate what you learn. Oh, balloons.
Oh,
wow. That happens to me quite a lot. So
made the point.
Does it happen to you a lot?
that's the point. Yeah, the universe is agreeing with me. We
Good
need to be able
timing.
to integrate these things and learn from them, whether it is a release or whether it is a full integration. We need to have that space. And so some clients will present with a limited system. And it's only when you then shine that light on it, you say to them, listen, the only limits you have in your life are the ones that you keep putting there. Nobody else is putting limits on you. You are. No one else. It's not anybody's fault. And the biggest thing that we can all learn is that everything in our life is our fault. Why that's such an important thing to learn is because once everything is your fault, you now have the power to change it. When it's somebody else's fault, you are giving your power away. And you are saying, I can't change. They have to change. They have to stop doing this thing. No, they don't. They are them and you are you. Right? Exactly, you have the power. So if you remove those limitations, it'll be like always walking around with a foot nailed to the floor and you've got that claw hammer to take the nail out, but you're like, no, I can't do that. Somebody else nailed it in, so they've got to take it out.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not at all. Yeah. You've got the tools. You just need to have the capacity and the knowledge to see it. And that's why perception about all these things is so important. Mm-hmm. So I always work on that perceptive view of change how you see something, and the thing that you look at changes. Simple. So let's change how you see it. If you think it's all your fault and you realize it's your own limitations, you can now remove them slowly, carefully, properly. And if I don't have the capacity, I will push you towards somebody that does. Like you can go see a psychologist or somebody else, like talk therapy, whatever it is that you need, hypnotherapist, NLP. Let's get you where you need to be so that we can start removing these mindsets
that are
these
keeping
things.
You down. Yeah,
exactly.
But I know Chantal's got one big question for you at the end, Mark. Ooh. But maybe let's just, it would be good then just to summarize where people can find you, because I know, you said a lot in this hour, and it would be nice for people to kind of follow your journey, or maybe even people want to kind of contact you to see how you could help.
I'm active mostly on Instagram. That's just Mark Dini official. You can find me there. I am also on LinkedIn a lot, so I'm just Mark Dini on that too. On X, I'm Mark Dini official as well, so nice and easy to remember. I have my own podcast called the Decentralized Health Podcast, where I talk to lovely people like yourself, where I talk about all things decentralized health and how we can basically become the CEOs of our own health, and it can be anything decentralized, anything at all. So if you need to reach out to me, you can DM me, you can go onto my podcast, leave a comment, ask me to get in contact with you, whatever it is that you need, you can reach me those ways.
Amazing. So my last question, I probably should have asked you this before, but I think you've been answering every question so wonderfully, was if you could put anything on a billboard for people to see. I know I've been asking you a lot, like where do you start, where do you do, but just something, and obviously you have a lot of knowledge regarding books and all these philosophies. If you could choose, and something comes to mind of one thing you could put on a billboard for people to see.
Whatever it is that you're going to be doing, the biggest question to ask yourself is why? Whatever it is, whether you're choosing a food, you're going out, you're having a drink, you're doing push-ups, you're meditating, why? Ask yourself why. Because we have a complete separation from self. And the one person that we need to know the most is us. And that will unlock the biggest amount of aha moments in your life, is when you truly understand your why. Because in the why is the value of everything. With everything you do, why?
Brilliant.
Why'd you do it?
I think that's the best one we've had so far.
I was going to say, wow, that was, said some really good liners here today. So whoever's listening, you better have been writing them down.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
No, Lady, thank you for your time.
We could keep speaking forever. I didn't even realize the time. That's why.
No, I didn't either.
There's so many questions. Thank you so much for your time. And for anyone listening, go find Mark, and hopefully we'll also get you back on the podcast, because we've got a lot more to explore, and hopefully see you when we're all back next in the UK.
I'd love that. Thank you for your time, ladies. I appreciate it. Breaking the gray.